Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Luke Papala Show. I probably shouldn't have done this episode, but I'm doing it for you, the viewer. You're welcome. I worked a 12-hour shift today. I'm not patting myself on the back or anything like that. But I worked a 12-hour shift today, and the news cycle has been so juicy, so fascinating, that I just couldn't help myself. It's midnight, folks. Another nighttime episode. And what are we talking about? We're talking about Nick Fuentes, and we're talking about Tucker Carlson. Now, Tucker Carlson had Candace Owens on his podcast a couple days ago, and basically what you need to know is, if you recall, Candace had Nick on her podcast or a show a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, and it was a smear campaign, right? She came and allegedly said behind the scenes, this is going to be a friendly interview. They've had like a similar past, and they were going to talk about the Iran war and like a couple, like Trump, for example, and kind of issues like that, right? Well, it ended up being a complete ambush, and she picked on Nick, and she kept questioning him. Why aren't you married? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you married? It's this whole thing is strange. You claim to be this Catholic. You can't claim to be this like right-wing guy. Why aren't you married? Blah, blah, blah. Even though she was not married until she was 29 and Nick's only 26. A little bit weird, but whatever. Regardless, right? So she has this ambush, and everybody online sees that it's an ambush, and she puts it behind a paywall and makes like 40 grand off it, whatever. So Tucker has her on his show, and they talk about a lot of things. They talk about Israel, they talk about Iran, they talk about Trump. But the most popular thing that they talk about on this episode is Nick Fuentes. And so Tucker has been, interestingly enough, Tucker has been hinting at Nick Fuentes for the past 2 years, it feels like. When you go back and forth, he's subtly talking about Nick Fuentes to all of his guests, like saying, like talking about alt-right people, talking about Holocaust deniers, for example, or anti-Semites, right? Put that in quotes. But it is so crazy that after like 2 years of subtly mentioning Nick Fuentes' name on his podcast, he finally says the boogeyman. He literally says the boogeyman's name out loud and ends up showing his true colors of exactly how he feels. So he's repeated a couple of these conspiracies about Nick Fuentes before. A lot of people have repeated those conspiracies before. And he's saying the same exact thing, that he's a CIA plant, calls him gay because he's not with anybody, he's not married, he doesn't have a girlfriend, what have you. I'm going to play this video, and then we are going to play Nick's reaction, because he fucking destroyed him. There's no other way about it. He destroyed him. Ended his career. Done. So this is what provoked Nick Fuentes. This is what Tucker said. Here we go.
That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah, and I will say I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, like, we almost said, like, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
Clearly it's
and then it was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from, like, a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he, like, just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being.
So this is Candace. Sorry, I just smacked my lips. This is Candace. She's talking about directly after her podcast with Nick.
Banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's the kind of
that could be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on. Yeah.
Or it's the.
Notice how Tucker repeats the accusation that Nick Fuentes is gay. He called him an angry gay kid, which this is a little bit weird. This is what Nick talks about, right? So Tucker is pro-gay marriage, but in this case, he uses being gay as a pejorative to insult Fuentes. He's had people like Peter Thiel on. He's had people like Peter Patil, but other Silicon Valley tech billionaires, Sam Altman, who are gay. But in this scenario, he uses being gay as a pejorative. A little bit weird.
What you're saying, where he does this, he's lying to everybody and pretending that things are one way when it's not. I can say
Why is he attacking Joe Kent, who, I mean, Joe Kent worked as a CIA contractor, paramilitary contractor. He was in the U.S. military for years fighting our neocon wars. And his wife was killed in Syria in one of those wars. Joe Kent is the single most sincere critic, and I would say the one with the most credibility in the United States to say this foreign policy is bad. It killed my wife. I was a part of it. Joe Kent is actually someone the CIA doesn't like at all because he understands how it operates. And for Nick Fuentes, who's like some child from Chicago, to go after him specifically, one congressional seat in Washington State.
It is random.
It's not random, though. It's the opposite of random. Joe Kent was number one on the list of people they wanted to knock off, people who believe in our neocon foreign policy. They wanted Joe Kent out because he could stand up and say, I actually know. I've got the receipts. My wife was killed in Syria. You had to take that guy out. And Nick Fuentes, this child, this weird little gay kid in his basement in Chicago.
Again, notice how he uses being gay as a pejorative. A little bit weird.
Chicago is participating in a super PAC to bump off Joe Kent. Like, I've been around this my whole life. I know what that is. It's just an organized effort.
Yeah.
And he also did the thing that David Duke always did, including to me, which is be like, oh, yeah, it's my friend. And everyone's like, oh, Tucker Carlson's been endorsed by David Duke. I've been making like the anti-racist argument my whole life.
Right.
Like, I'm not for David Duke. Do I think David Duke is right when he's against affirmative action? You bet I do. But I'm not for David Duke. But David Duke would try to discredit people by hugging them. And that's exactly what Fuentes did. He goes out there and meet all these people. Shop, hi, I'm Nick Fuentes. Can I get my picture with you? That's a campaign to destroy credible voices on the right. And Fuentes is part of it. And I know I'm inviting endless trouble by saying this because, you know, this is a kid with a lot of spare time, but it's just a fact. And I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
And I you can believe me or not, but I know what I'm talking about.
I can confirm he's dishonest. I mean, so it's like you use that as your, like, I could not determine what his motives were. And I said, you know what? I don't have time for this. I gave you a fair chance, gave you a fair shake, and you are a fundamentally dishonest human being. You know, there was no reason to do it. If he had not done that show and screamed and yelled, his followers would have been like, oh, that was an interesting conversation between two people who agreed some, disagreed some, and like that was it. It was interesting that he got there. He doesn't want to be, and I can tell you that he doesn't want to be anywhere but where he is. He doesn't want to have normal relations. And it did sort of feel, and I said that to him, that he's like responding to orders somewhere because why are you attacking me?
Well,
why are you attacking Dave Smith? What is the issue with Dave Smith? And he couldn't answer the question.
Exactly.
He couldn't answer the question. He was just like, well.
The fakest thing I've ever seen.
And he's like,
Okay. Again, apologies for that long clip, but you need to understand what provoked Nick Fuentes. A bunch of that stuff, right? Tucker Carlson is insinuating the main plot of that clip. Tucker Carlson is insinuating that Nick Fuentes is a Fed, that he has CIA backing. Candace Owens is coming at him for, quote, being dishonest. And then Tucker's calling him a gay theater kid in his basement from Chicago. This angry gay kid is what he's calling him. And then Nick Fuentes does his nightly stream. It happened to be a casual Friday. I am a viewer. I love the show. It's the best political show that you will find on the internet or anywhere these days. And this is a 7-minute clip. I don't know if I'm going to play the whole thing. But he went off. This was over a 3.5-hour episode. And Nick absolutely ended Tucker Carlson's career. Like, there is no way that he can come back, Tucker can. Nick exposed everything from Tucker's past to how Tucker's dad was in the CIA. And even though Tucker claims to not know that his dad was in the CIA, which we'll get to that in a little bit, Nick, he completely exposes how Tucker applied for the CIA, and you can find multiple clips. He applied to work in the CIA, and then you can find multiple clips of Tucker talking about before his dad died, because he alleges that he didn't know that his dad was in the CIA until his dad died in March of 2025. But you could find clips from him in 2024 talking about how his dad was in the CIA. And it's like a walking contradiction right here. But here is this clip, 7-minute clip. I don't know if I'm going to play the whole thing, but Nick absolutely unloads on Tucker. And then after this, I'll be able to stop playing the clips and quote engagement farming. But I just want you guys to understand the magnitude of what is happening here, because shit's changing.
I'm being accused of being the CIA by Peter Thiel's best boys, by Tucker Carlson with his daddy. Tucker Carlson's, and you know what? Here's the other thing. Tucker Carlson said I'm a weird gay kid in the basement. Yeah, and I'm from Chicago. You're right. Well, okay, you're not right about all of that. But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then, after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich, now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt.
So in this first part of the clip, Nick is talking about Tucker pretending to be one of the normal people, pretending to be you and me, working class, when he is clearly not.
But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people. You want to talk about me and them? I am them. He says Nick Fuentes is leading all of the disaffected young white men. I am a disaffected young white man. I was a precocious, intelligent, young white college student who went to Boston University, who was pro-Trump and red-pilled by Trump and animated by Trump's message of America first. And I asked questions about Israel, and I was punished for it. I did it years before Tucker Carlson started talking about Israel last year. And I sacrificed, and I was targeted by the ADL, by the SPLC, by the federal government, by the conservative movement that both Candace and Tucker were a part of. Candace and Tucker had nothing to say about Israel until it became unavoidable last year. Not popular, but unavoidable. And now they want to gatekeep me out and do this personality attack and say I'm a bitter loser in my basement from Chicago. I'm a kid from Chicago.
And so that's the clip that we played earlier. That's what he's referencing. That's what he's responding to. And then he starts to go off on their backstories. Just continue to take a listen here, because this is crazy.
And they slipped up there because they forgot for 1 second that they're pretending to be the spokesperson for exactly that kind of person. Tucker's mask slipped, and he forgot for a minute that for 8 years he's been pretending to care about the plight of weird kids in their parents' basement who are broke and didn't go to an Ivy League school, living in cities that don't matter like Chicago, not like Washington, D.C. or L.A. or New York. And that's why he had such disdain and contempt for me in that moment. Between the personality attacks, he's lonely, he's weird, he lives in a basement. I'm sorry, did you guys forget that that's your target audience that you're trying to pander to?
True.
Did you forget that for 2 seconds? And I'm the inauthentic person? I am that person. I am a spokesman for the disaffected white man because I am one, and you two are not. Candace Owens got married to British royalty worth $200 million after meeting him for 2 weeks on Zoom. What the fuck is even that about?
This is true, and nobody talks about that. Yes, Candace Owens got married to her husband 2 weeks after meeting him. Did not know it was on Zoom. But nevertheless, this is somebody that's lecturing a 26-year-old about not being married yet. What? Get out of here. These people are weird, and this is what he's reiterating. These people that are trying to convey this message of America first are weird, and it's not the America first position. It's America first until you get to a certain point. In Candace's situation, she's neglecting to call out what Nick does, which is organized jewelry without the word jewelry. We understand what I'm saying. But you get the point? Continuing.
Out. And Tucker Carlson's dad ran the CIA's propaganda empire fighting the Soviet Union. He went and fought with the Contras when he was in college.
Here we go.
When I was in college, I was doing a webcam show in my friend's dorm room criticizing Israel. So who's the CIA cutout? Who's the inauthentic one? Who's the crazy, hateful one?
And there we go. He just exposed right there how he fought with the Contras, how Tucker Carlson fought with the Contras. And he literally, he puts this a lot better when he does this deep dive on this episode. But right here, Tucker Carlson is the one with the CIA connections. We can all find the evidence. The evidence is empirical. You can look it up. There it is. His father was in the CIA. He claims to not have known about his father being in the CIA until March of 2025. But there's multiple videos that I will show you, hopefully, after this clip, where that is not true, and it's proven to be a liar. And Nick calls him out on this, and he continues to call him out on this and hold his feet to the fire.
I would never describe a well-meaning young white person who's trying to get ahead as a weird kid in his basement from Chicago. And what is that supposed to mean? What is wrong with being from Chicago? What is wrong with being weird? What is wrong with living in your basement? That's a lot of people because of the problems you claim to care about. True. Tucker's at Turning Point USA extolling the predatory nature of usury and how it's preventing young white men from getting homes. And then the week after says you're in your mom's basement. So which is it? Do you care about Klarna and people going into debt to order pizzas and home ownership being impossible? Or do you think that's a contemptible, low status thing to be ridiculed and mocked? Who's pandering here exactly? Because that wasn't you. You were born to the Swanson family fortune and your daddy who ran the CIA. You know, my dad didn't even graduate college. My dad worked for the tollway. His dad died of a drug overdose in the 70s. My mother's father was a garbage man in Chicago, and he committed suicide. He was a veteran of World War II. Who's the CIA cutout? Who's the poser? Who is America? I am America. Chicago is America. That's an American story. I didn't go to Yale Law School and suck Peter Thiel's dick and then get a signature at a venture capital firm advising Rebecca Mercer and writing Hillbilly Elegy and talking about it at the Aspen Institute. That's your biographical credibility? How many of these disaffected white people that love Trump because he's racist went to Yale Law School and got plucked out by Peter Thiel, whoever he even is? Peter Thiel with his fixation with the Antichrist, this homosexual who's involved with the CIA, wants to live forever and govern.
Called him a homosexual. We're almost done with this clip, folks. We got like a minute 12. Bear with me.
In the world with AI. Yeah, that's really relatable. Do another show with him and Curtis Yarvin. Do another show. Do the 47th show with J.D. Vance. It is insulting, and it is insulting to everybody's intelligence for Tucker to sit there and say he doesn't know his dad is in the CIA, for him to say that I'm in the CIA. What a joke. What a sick joke. Especially after everything that's happened to me. And unlike what Candace Owens says, she says, what happened to him when he was 18? What happened to me is ongoing. Okay? Unlike Candace Owens and Tucker, I never got a contract with Ben Shapiro and Rupert Murdoch.
It's true.
I was on Maker Support. I was on Patreon. I was on D Live. I had to fight for everything I have. I didn't get $1 million contract from Turning Point. I didn't get $20 million from Fox News. My daddy didn't get me a job in Arkansas. So ridiculous.
And so right there, he ended Tucker Carlson. And that's just one of the clips. He did a deep dive on Tucker that took about probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, completely going over his backstory, going over why Tucker wanted to be in the CIA in the first place because of his father. And he applied when he was like in his mid to late 20s. Okay. But one thing they did talk about is the disaffected white man. Specifically, Nick Fuentes leading a group of disaffected white men. And he responded to it, and he said he's a disaffected white man. But we have to understand something here. This is something that nobody is really talking about, at least not yet. This is something that I have touched on multiple times on various podcasts, going all the way back to the 2024 election, why Donald Trump won. And it was because of white Gen Z men, white Gen Z male voters. We won that election for him. We are a growing voting bloc to be reckoned with. You're going to have to cater to our needs and our wants. It's just what it is. Because for a decade, the public, for the most part, and the liberal media has alienated Gen Z white men, has alienated young white men, and called us things like fascist, racist, Nazis, all because we just wanted to grow up as men. Is that such a crime? All because we wanted to grow up as men and be masculine and be able to do the normal things like grow up and get a career and have a wife, have children, stuff that we were raised to do by our Gen X parents. And the thing is, you kind of took that away from us. I saw a stat recently. It said 7% of Gen Z males are unemployed. Those are recession numbers for the general population. In response to that, the female population, only 2% unemployment or 3% unemployment, much lower than the Gen Z male counterparts. This is by design. We know this. This is by design for a couple of different reasons. Number one, you have the H-1B visa program where they take foreign skilled laborers and these corporations, they're able to pay the H-1B foreign skilled laborers like 50% less, 40% less than American would make, because obviously Americans, they need more. Their work is valued, right? They command more. They command a higher pay, and rightfully so. If you're an American engineer, you deserve to get paid 120K a year, 130K a year, right? As an example, compared to somebody in India or from India that's only going to make like 60, 70, 80 perhaps, because these corporations, they see these foreign skilled laborers and they know they could take advantage of them. It's not necessarily the Indians' fault or the H-1B visa holders' fault, although I would not like that policy. I hate that policy. It's the politicians and it's the corporations that have done this. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is you look at the Democratic Party. You look at the sexual revolution, started in the late 60s, early 70s, and you kind of see after the sexual revolution how this world is now a hyper-feminine world. And it didn't used to be like that. It took time. But over the past 20 years, I would say this is a hyper-feminine world. And so now when you have the women that are making the rules, at least that's what we think, the women that are telling everybody what to do, the women that are making the laws. You see Congresswoman, for example, press secretary, right? Republican and Democrat. You have the one of the Republican, no, it was a Democratic representative. She was a female. She was a woman, got her, I would like to say her 6-month-old in her hand, gave birth 6 months ago, but now she has her baby on the floor of the U.S. Congress. What is this theater? You see the press secretary, I forget her name, Caroline Leavitt. Literally the day after she gives birth, boom, she is working. What? How heartless is that? How heartless is that? Why aren't you doing the most important job in the world? You literally just had your kid yesterday. Why are you working today? I don't understand that. Let's keep going. Jasmine Crockett, complete loudmouth, complete clown in terms of being somebody that is supposed to represent constituents in government. Nancy Mace, a complete clown, showing her nudes for some reason in Congress just to prove a point about getting a bill signed. Furthermore, she is in drama every other week about either getting in an affair or somebody calling her out or getting called out and having a response, or going to Israel and saying that we should bomb innocent Palestinians. That is okay. Not okay. It is not okay. Let's keep going. Nikki Haley speaking about Palestinians, signing missiles, signing bombs, saying kill them all, signing Nikki Haley. And people were saying this woman should be the president of the United States. What are we doing? Continuing on here, you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, which, yes, she hasn't taken any money from AIPAC, but she does make comments that are just not supposed to be beholden of somebody that should be an elected representative. I just don't understand the lack of decorum for all of these female politicians, both Republican and Democrat. You have people like Kamala Harris, once again, that just are the epitome of failing upwards. And that's what this whole movement is. This whole movement of hyper-femininity in the world is just failing upwards. All of these women have desktop jobs where it's just an Excel spreadsheet and they're literally timed. That's the thing. They're timed, they're clocked in on their phone or on their computer, and they don't work. It just goes and they get paid hourly. I've experienced this. I've seen women that are working these jobs and they're clocked in, but they're not working and their bosses are okay with it. This is all something that is designed to elevate women and put men below them. And it didn't used to be like this because the liberal media in general, for the past 20 years, we live now in a hyper-feminine society, hyper-feminine world for the past 20 years, has told these men, don't go into trades, don't go into manual labor jobs. You don't have to build the world like you've done for the past however many years, all of time. You don't have to build the country like you've done since its inception. No. Instead of building the country like you've done since its inception, go to college. Go work a white-collar job. Go work in HR. Go work in communications. What the fuck is communications? Go work in human resources, right? Go work in HR. Again. So then what did that prompt the politicians to do? In 2020, Joe Biden released anywhere from 10 to 20 million illegal immigrants into this country. Why? Because the labor force was shrinking. The labor force was dwindling. And so, because we were not reproducing enough laborers to get back into the labor force and have the replacement happen naturally, they brought in all these foreign laborers, typically from South American countries, your Mexicos, your Venezuelas, etc. I can't talk. But the point is, this is what happens now. We've seen this, and we're going to continue to see this. Border's been shut down, but nevertheless, these people are still here. And so now that all these white men in particular, but Gen Z men in general, are now just low on the totem pole compared to their female counterparts, women are earning more, on average, compared to men in their households. And this is quite opposite to what's happened in the past. Traditionally, it's been the other way. And as a result, if you have a man living with a woman who's making more than him, he's typically going to feel obsolete. He's typically going to feel insecure, and rightfully so. It is the man's job to provide. It's not the man's job to be a bitch. If the man feels like a bitch, he's going to feel insecure. He's not going to feel good. He's going to feel uncomfortable. He's not going to feel like a man. And this is what's happened. There are a lot of disaffected white men because you lied to them and you told them to go to college and get that bullshit degree. Or, like somebody I know, get a degree in cybersecurity, for example, and in turn, not be able to use that degree because there are no jobs. Why? Because the corporations got all the H-1B visas, and they're employing these foreign skilled laborers and employing them for, in some instances, half the pay that an American would command. This is the problem. This is what Nick is calling out. And now, what's starting to happen? You had the election Trump, so you're proving that this voting block is fucking real. It's real. And it's not to be messed with. Our generation, Gen Z, I don't think you understand. We know the system's fake. The system is very fake. We grew up through the rise of Donald Trump as a political figure, talking about the fake news, talking about corruption, talking about the swamp, talking about the deep state. And although he may have been just a court jester, just a scammer, because he hasn't been able to do anything that he said regarding the deep state, regarding the swamp, he's proven that it's real. It's very real. You see all the FBI, CIA attacks, the witch hunt with the Russiagate, 2020, etc., the election, all of that stuff, the organized attacks, him getting arrested, him getting impeached twice, etc. You can understand why he said that. I mean, it is real. But we've seen it. We've seen it all. And for the better part of the last decade, we have been told that we are evil because we were born men, because we were born with cocks. And for some reason, they felt threatened to tell us that when we were 15, 16, 17. In some instances, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And what happens when you have an entire group of the country, most of the country, the media, when you grow up in your adolescence years, your preteen to teenage years, and you grow up and these people are telling you, no, you're evil. You're born a man. You're evil. Your masculinity is evil. In fact, it's toxic. Again, I can't talk. In fact, your masculinity is toxic. No, actually, you're a Nazi. You're a fascist. You think that men should be able to marry women and the man should be the leader of a home and men should be able to provide. That's toxic. No, you're evil. You're a fascist. It's like, well, if you're just going to continue to call me these names, then I might as well be what you're calling me. Then let's do it. So the 2024 election was the first step in the Gen Z male rejection of all of the modern bullshit of our political system, but overall our society. And you're seeing it now with the rise of Nick Fuentes. Because we recognize that these people like Tucker Carlson, these people like Candace Owens are only conveying a message that's convenient. For them, they're dancing around the topic. And Nick puts it bluntly. And you haven't even seen it. You don't even understand how powerful we are. And Gen Alpha under us is even worse because even the women are right-wing. You think it's bad that you have a generation of men now in this particular generation that are majority right-wing and right-leaning? Yes, we have extreme ideas about race and religion, but you don't even know about Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha, even the young girls are right wing. That's never happened in a society, at least recently, that I can imagine, that's secular. This is a big deal. You've radicalized our generation of men, at least, but then you've radicalized an entire generation of people. You don't even understand what the impact that the lockdowns had on us. Closed our schools, closed our colleges, yes, but you closed their grade schools. You interrupted their formative years of childhood learning. They really don't trust the government, and they are going to grow up to hate the government. Imagine that. We may really have a revolution in our lifetime, and I really haven't thought this. I never thought this before, but this is a real possibility, man. You should, if you're working for the blob, if you're working for the government, and you have these really bad intentions where you want to hurt us and you want to get us to keep supporting these foreign wars, and you want to keep making housing unaffordable like Nick's talking about, and you want to continue to demonize the nuclear family and demonize everything that this country has stood for, I'm sorry, you have limited time, man. You have to shut the whole entire internet down. You have to kill the whole ecosystem of all of this shit for us to be able to get together and organize together and talk to each other and spread these ideas with one another. Because that's the only way that you could shut this shit down. Nick even said, if you kill me, good luck. I'm a martyr. That I win. Which we hope that doesn't happen, but this is what he's talking about, man. People are going to find each other. We're continuing to find each other. I found 15 different groypers in my area alone that I had no clue existed and held these beliefs. But they do, and it's more common than you think. And so to cap this? I don't want to cap this because this is real. The disaffected white man, the disaffected white Gen Z voter, Gen Z man is real. You've entirely set the system up to be against us. And so what are we going to do? We're going to channel our ancestors' roots, and we're going to channel what they did. Either they fought for this country to rebel against Great Britain, going as far back as the founding stock people that descended from founding stock, or they fought in the Revolutionary War, or they fought in World War I, World War II, or they simply came over from their country, didn't know if it was going to work over here, and ended up making a great life for themselves, and in turn we're able to raise generations that gave birth to us. This is the DNA that we have. And we're not going to take this anymore. It's done. We are able to see what the Matrix really is. We're able to see this whole world for what it really is, a scam. We're not able to get housing. We're not able to get jobs. We're not able to start a family. We're apparently, in some instances, not able to celebrate our own religion. They're trying to do away with everything. So fine. Go ahead. Try. I dare you. More people are waking up, and more people are following him. They're finding him. It's that simple. So, in terms of the politicians, in terms of the people that actually run this world, the people are getting their power back. We're getting our power back. And we're going to have to fight tooth and nail. I've been actually fighting tooth and nail ever since I started this podcast in 2021. But it all started a long time ago. It started about 10, 15 years ago when you started to demonize us in the media, in advertisements. And it was all subtle, but it became really, really clear with the 2024 election that we were just done. We shifted. We're done. And after us, it's only getting worse for you. So either concede or get ready. Lock in. Because it's going to be a hard fight for you. And good luck surviving. But we're going to win. That's all I can say. I don't even want to talk anymore about anything in the news. Like, it's just, we are going to win this fight. You don't understand. You don't understand how many people, lots of things are going to come back up, dude. That's the thing. There's going to be a conversation on Israel. There's going to be a conversation on organized jewelry. There's going to be a conversation on race. All of them. There's going to be a conversation on immigration, if it's good for this country. All of these conversations, all of these views that I grew up hearing older men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, etc. at family events, at parties, at school, whatever. events, sporting events, all of these opinions that I hold or I heard old white men or old men in general discuss, they're becoming mainstream suddenly. The conversation about black on black crime, about black violence is a real thing, unfortunately. But you look at the statistics, it's true. And you hear the conversations about immigration and all of these things. Why can you say the phrase black power, for example, but you can't say the phrase white power? Why can you say Black Lives Matter but not White Lives Matter? In the media, in general, they disavow you. They demonize you. And even the conversation about the N-word too. I've heard this conversation a lot. Growing up in my life from different amount of people that won't actually say it publicly, but they have these conversations quite privately, quite frequently when you really hear this. And you hear the conversation about the N-word, how black people could just say the N-word and you can have a black person say it in a song, but the minute a white person says it, society just gives black people this like unwritten rule that they could do whatever they want to that person. It's like, I thought freedom of speech was a thing. Anyway, not to go off on a tangent here, but like all of these conversations, everything's coming back. Everything is coming back. The matrix is about to break. And when it breaks, everything will be relitigated again. Every single thing. Because if stuff like Israel's a lie, for example, then what else is a lie? Like, I'm not talking about the moon landing. If we landed on the moon, that's irrelevant. Don't fixate yourself with that topic. It's not designed to get you to get into a thought-provoking conversation or a mode where you really examine your own beliefs and your own thoughts and you gain knowledge. And it's a bunch of bullshit. Who cares about aliens? No. But when you look at just the world and what we were taught in school about history, it was only written by the winners. It's very important. A lot of conversations going to come up in the next couple of years about World War II. And a certain leader, I'm not endorsing him, but he certainly wasn't all bad. He did a lot of good things for his country, and we would be lucky to have somebody similar to him, not with the killing, of course, I'm not endorsing that, but we would be lucky to have somebody that operated just for America and America only and not Israel. And that is something that we are craving as a generation. It's something we're craving as a people, but especially us. And we're not going to put up with the shit. We are breaking the matrix. And you can see it now with the rise of Nick Fuentes and how much support and energy he's gaining. And more people are speaking up. And this is going to be a bigger issue. So the people in government, people in Congress, the Senate, the president, they're going to have to They're going to have to cater and consider our opinions when running a presidential campaign and a campaign in general. You're going to have to cater to our needs because we are a force to be reckoned with, man. So good luck. And that's all I'll say about it. I do have one more clip of Tucker actually contradicting himself, and then we'll be done. But Tucker, going back to it, was talking about being in the CIA and only finding out that his dad was in the CIA in March of 2023. Well, interestingly enough, we have a clip right here where he completely exposes himself and exposes how he's lying to everybody. So I will put this clip right here up. On the left, it says it's from August 2025, and on the right, it says it's from June 2024. I'm going to play this for you. He contradicted himself. Here we go.
And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn, actually, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So when I applied to CIA, and I've taken a lot of crap, including from Putin, like, oh, you're from a CIA family. Well, yeah, obviously my father worked in conjunction with CIA. I mean, that's what that is.
That was in June 2024. There's more. So we also had Putin in that interview that he did with Tucker in, I believe, 2023. He's talking about Tucker's dad working in the CIA. And very damning. I'm going to play this clip for you.
With the backing of whom?
With the backing of CIA, of course. The organization you wanted to join back in the day, as I understand. We should thank God they didn't let you in. Although, it is a serious organization. I understand. My former vis-a-vis in the sense that I served in the first main directorate, Soviet Union's intelligence service. They have always been our opponents.
The CIA that you tried to join, but we should be glad that they didn't let you in. He's had a fixation with this for a long time. And it's just so crazy how Tucker Carlson continues to attack Nick Fuentes for supposedly being in the CIA, when he's been lying and covering up all this information detailing how active his dad was in the CIA. Continuing to tell us he had no clue his dad worked for the CIA, whereas right there I just showed you he lied. He knew about it before his father passed. He knew. How do you think that he signed up to potentially join the CIA? In his father, it never came up once. Hey, Dad, I'm going to apply to be in the CIA. Well, son, actually, funny story, I work for the CIA. The people are waking up. And if you're a Tucker Carlson, if you're a Candace Owens, but more broadly, if you do have any place on the American political spectrum in office in government, well, then you should be very worried, because we're coming back. Everything's coming back. Well, not everything. Not slavery. We're not going to bring that back, but there's a big amount of people, once again, Gen Z male voters, but Gen Z white male voters in particular, that are disenfranchised, that are angry. You demonized us. You took a lot of our future. You are actively replacing us in some situations, in some job markets. If you work in tech, if you work in engineering, if you work in any high-skilled labor job, then most likely you are competing with an H-1B visa who is going to work for about 50% of your pay. And on top of that, don't hold your same morals and values like you do, because they're not Christian. They don't have the same values. They don't have the same beliefs. And that is what is going to collapse the society if it continues to happen. So, we're coming back. And even though that things are being exposed and the Matrix is being showed to be real, it doesn't matter, because it's all coming down. And we're going to break it. We'll see ya.